Crystal, you getting into your pre-show notes, you said that your content is very hypocritical. Although I see points you make that are true, you concentrate more on women rather than men, whereas men can be held accountable in relationships as well, and the reason why things don't work out. So your disagreement is, you disagree with the views of the roles of women that the host talks about, as it is not realistic in today's society, and believes what he says is hypocritical, as he believes women should stay at home and take care of the kids, but also says women aren't realistic and gold diggers when looking for men making over $100,000, when in reality a salary of $100,000 a year is the least amount to make when trying to take care of a family financially in California without the woman working.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't recall I even have ever even use the term gold digger on the show. I do sometimes scoff, though, if a woman who is not particularly remarkable herself wants a man who, say, makes $500,000, which would put him in the top 1%. I think that's unrealistic. If a woman desired a man who makes $100,000 which, while it is above the average income, at least even in California, but throughout most of the rest of the country, 100,000, I don't think is completely unrealistic. It is a man who is starting to get to his way to being a high earner. But I think you're uncharacterizing this a bit unfairly. Most of my criticism rests when these women come on saying they want a man who makes seven figures, 500,000 plus. And they're, again, like I said, not particularly remarkable in their own right. Would you disagree with me that it might be unreasonable for an average woman to desire a man who makes, or hold out for a man who makes, say, $500,000 to over $1 million a year?
Probably. My point was that, like, a lot of points you make is that women should stay at home and take care of the kids, but in reality, that's not realistic in California. A lot of men who are minimum wage don't make enough money for the wife to take care of the kids by themselves. That's basically what my point was.
That is true. It's almost like there's 49 other states that you could move to.
I haven't looked into that. I don't know how much you have to make in other states, but I know that that's on average.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it is in California.
Everything costs the same everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You're paying quite the premium for the sunshine.
I would say so. I haven't really. Taxes. I don't know what minimum wage is over in other states, but my point was towards California.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about California is that it's a cesspool, and it's filled to the brim with either scumbag yuppies or degenerate losers. L.A. is a horrific place. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
the best place in the world in California to start a business is anywhere outside of California. That's the best place.
Taxes.
I can disagree with that.
Pretty bad. So yeah, you can raise a family on a single income. You just can't do it there. I agree. It's really hard to raise a family on a single income in California where, I think San Francisco, I looked, the poverty threshold there's like $80,000 a year. That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's insanity. But the Midwest is filled to the brim with jobs. So is the South, right? It's just that people choose not to leave. But it's like you gotta set what your priorities are. If you actually want a family, you don't do that in California. It's a terrible place to raise a family anyway.
Yeah. I think a lot of the time too, though, if you're born here, your family lives here, you don't want to like move out, like your parents, your siblings. Just it's kind of hard moving to a different area also.
Well, the whole point of that is, so if you get married, you also adopt your entire husband's family, right? That's part of that.
Yeah.
And so if your husband doesn't live in California, let's say he lives in the Midwest or someplace like that, you do have family then, don't you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that's one big perk. But another one is like, that's how people start up family dynasties, man. That's why there's Wilsons all over. That's why it's such a common last name. They're all over the place, right? There's Wilsons running all over California, Nevada, all the Midwest, the South. families starting up dynasties all over the place. If it's too expensive to live, you move somewhere else. If you want a family, anyway.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. Like, can we like go around and say like how much we put on the paper to, like, for our husband to make per year? I'm just curious. Like,
Yeah,
what
we can do that
people
right
said.
now. Minimum yearly income for your future husband?
I think I put 75K.
I feel like I put the highest. I put $1 million.
Okay. What about you?
I would want someone who makes maybe just like 15% more than I do, just because I feel like it just makes me feel like he's a bit more masculine. So I'm not looking for someone who's, a multimillionaire, but just someone who's just like got it. Like if shit hits the fan, can kind of protect me in a disaster. Yeah.
On your notes, you did write equal to you, but
Yeah.
So I guess, 15%, sure.
Yeah.
What is that though? How much do you make?
It depends.
I don't know, on average
Well,
a year.
I mean,
guess?
if I'm DJing nightclubs, if I'm DJing weddings, it really like.
How much have you, if you had to average it out on a yearly basis, based off of how much you made the past 5 years, what would you say?
I can do like 1 year. My maths isn't great, but so I DJ'd Croatia Yacht Week, and I was paid like £8,000 for that week. Maybe it really depends. Sometimes I just do a nightclub and I make £1,000. Sometimes it's up and down. Sorry, that's not the perfect answer, but.
So how much
But I
yearly income?
I also own an apartment with no mortgage in London, so I have passive income from that as well.
Okay. So the guy should make what?
15% more than me.
Which is what?
It goes up and down, honestly.
All right, what about
Ballpark.
you?
Roll your eyes as
Like
much as
ball-
you want. It's the truth.
Andrew's saying ballpark?
For
Ballpark.
me,
Ballpark?
Like 100,000 a year.
150.
Like, I'm not asking for your exact income. I feel like that's
Yeah.
what it feels like to you. We're not
don't
trying to get your exact
I-
income.
in-
We're just trying to figure out what you actually want from someone.
I just feel like it's not very ladylike to say your say how much money you make, so I'm a bit shy about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just looking for like a ballpark of what your expectation is for a man
Well,
to make.
you don't
That's
need to
it.
say how much you make. You just need to
Right.
give us the ballpark of what you want your man to make.
Which
Yeah.
is 15% more than what I
Which
make.
that doesn't tell us anything, though, really.
Well, it kind of does. I'm
Not
saying
unless
that
we
I'm
knew how
not
much you
looking for
made.
someone who's.
Unless,
Right, okay.
unless we
I'm,
knew how much you made, that wouldn't help us at all.
I'm not going to
So,
tell you how
and-
much money I make.
Well, then
It's
why don't I
private.
ask-
Exactly.
I'll just ask some clear. Would you like a guy to make over $500,000 a year?
No, it doesn't
Or
have to be that
let's do
much.
bare minimum.
It doesn't have to be that much.
200,000?
Doesn't have to be that much.
100,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
what about
not
you?
even.
Yep.
Like.
What about you?
well, to me, it doesn't really matter as long as somebody's working like towards something. Like, let's say like they don't really like make that much money right now, but they're working towards making more money and like having like a business or like doing like something that they're like passionate about. Then that's what I would say.
Okay. What about you?
Probably about 60,000.
Okay. What about you?
That's a trick. Oh my gosh. I got a little excited. Sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
That's a tricky question for me because I'm already married. So, if
How
we're
much-
talking about,
I guess how much does
Well,
he
let's
make?
let's pretend like, and I'm not saying this to be horrible or anything,
Yeah.
but let's just pretend meteorite strikes your car, right? Your poor husband taken out of commission. That's the end, right? You're single. You've gone through your 2-year grieving program. You're going back out in the dating market. What would you be looking for from the financial status of whoever that partner would be?
for me, there wouldn't be a number.
Yeah.
It would be also about energy. It'd be about there could be a guy that just bought a small business and is working to grow that business. For me, it'd be more about the motivation of what they're doing with themselves, right? If they're just going to be like a couch potato guy, like, nah, you know.
What if he's a couch potato, but he's really funny?
Oh, that's my type.
That's really hard because I make good money. So, like, listen, if he's going to
I
make
mean,
me
he's
laugh
really
and clean the
funny.
house
Like, on a
and
scale of 1 to 10, he's like at least a 10 in hilarious.
in funniness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would let him be a stay-home guy, stay-home husband, as long as he
He's
made me
hilarious.
laugh and like rub my feet at night.
Yeah, he's gonna rub your feet though.
Yes, it has to be. Yeah, I got pretty feet. What the heck?
Wouldn't you feel like taking advantage though, if like he's living off of you?
No, as long as there is,
That's how men
it's
feel.
more about
Just kidding.
behaviors. Like if he's behaving in a manner of like he's taking advantage of me, that's different. But if he's given me, he's taking care of the house. Maybe he's helping me file things. Maybe he's helping me with my business in some way or some form. It'd be just different.
Well, that wasn't what
Because
they
it's
said.
behavior.
They just said comedy.
What about you?
Nothing too crazy, just something enough to sustain living. So I would say like 60 to 70 because a man's value isn't determined what's inside their wallet at the end of the day.
One question going back to you. So when did you start getting involved in S work?
Me?
Yeah.
Escorting?
S work, sex work.
Oh, I was like, I don't do that. For me, 4 years ago.
And was this like a prolonged conversation? Like, did you bring this to your husband?
Oh yeah, he kind of
And was
told
he
me.
on board initially, or did he have?
He had his
concerns?
reservations. He definitely had his reservations, and we had good conversations about it. And with those conversations, we made a decision that this was something I was going to do. He kind of knew, though, for some reason. He told me 10 years ago, he knew some way somehow I would end up in the corn industry.
May I ask, what was his initial when you brought this to him? Was it a
Wait,
no?
wait, how did he know that? What?
Was it
yeah,
a no?
What?
Was it a no?
Oh no, he never said no.
But what was his initial reaction at the beginning?
Like what? Like what are you talking about? He kind of knew. Like I'd been messing around with social media. I was doing, TikToks, Instagrams, Facebook. So I was just like, hey, I'm thinking about taking this to a different direction. Plus, he had already knew that people in our lives had been asking me like, hey, what do you think about doing this? I think you'd be really great at this. So I had other people in my life.
Wait, other people in your life? What do you mean?
Other friends that were saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing OnlyFans before?
Were they doing OnlyFans or just
No. I had one girl one night. Go ahead.
these were your like family friends?
Well, they're more like friends from like high school and friends from my previous work life and current work life.
Yeah. But it's okay. Some of your friends were trying to get you to do OnlyFans.
Well, they were talking to me. They're like, have you ever thought about doing
But
it?
so when you first brought the conversation to your husband, what was the period of time that elapsed between the first conversation and you so you started making content?
Probably, I would say, let's see. So this is bringing up February, March, April, May, probably about 2-3 months.
Okay, and remind me, what was his initial response?
Well, he was just kind of like I said, he already kind of knew it was being planted in my life, so he
But that
wasn't
was
against it.
You said 10 years ago when you brought it up to him recently.
He knew that in that, how do you say that? In that current time, he knew that people in our lives were talking to me about doing it, right? So let's say within a 6-month period of time, he knew that other people were asking me. He knew that the seed was planted in my head. So we had conversations about it, but go
Okay.
ahead.
So, that initial conversation, was he on board? Where was he?
He wasn't against it at all. He was just kind of like, okay, like, how's it going to work? How does this operate? What are you going to be doing? And it was multiple conversations. It just wasn't one conversation.
Was there any sense from you that you sensed he didn't want you to do it?
Of course there was reservations and conversations that had to happen in communication between me and him, but he never once was like, no, you can't do this. I don't want you doing this.
That leads me to my next question. Had he said, either initially or in one of these follow-up conversations, I don't want you to do this, and that was his final position on it, how would that have gone?
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it would have went over very well with me. Yeah, I was going to do
but
it.
expand on that. Oh, you okay? But you were going to do it.
But I was being respectful. I was having conversations with him and talking.
How many
with him.
conversations did you have with him?
Oh, we'd been conversating, like I said, 3 months before I even opened my OnlyFans.
Okay. But it sounds to me like he was not on board with it from the get-go.
Well, he wasn't against
But you were
it.
exerting pressure and influence to get him to accept it, because perhaps you could paint a picture for me. If he had told you, don't do it, you seem to be indicating there would be major issues in the relationship. Would you have divorced him?
I don't know if I would divorce him. I mean, that would be having to be a conversation that we'd have. But throughout my life in 24 years, I've sacrificed a lot of things for my marriage and my family. And this one, I wasn't going to sacrifice this time.
Can I ask, you do boy-girl content, right?
I do boy-girl
Do you
content.
do boy-girl content with him?
We do. We have some videos, but priority, not him.
So wait, hold on. You do content with other men.
I do.
Wait. This is a new development. Hold on. How many are you in the traditional adult content space, or is this just through OF?
Oh, what do you mean, like
Well,
swinging?
like in what's the place in Los Angeles? San Bernardino. Is that where they'd shoot all the? Like, do you do traditional?
I do
porn?
professional?
Professional.
Yeah, I do professional.
And question,
And
you've been
independent.
married for 24 years.
Correct.
Have you been monogamous throughout the course of your 24-year marriage?
Oh, no, him and I have had multiple threesomes and other partners. Sorry, daughter.
But so at the beginning, was it monogamous?
I'd probably say the first maybe 10 years.
The first 10 years. Okay, whose idea was it to open up the relationship?
That would be me.
Okay, and
I was the instigator with that one.
were there, now just not accusing you of anything, but
Yeah.
was there any infidelity prior to your desire to open up the relationship?
Honestly, yes,
Okay.
And he's aware of
On
it.
your part or on his part?
on my part.
Okay. What? So you were monogamous for 10 years. How soon into the marriage did you start seeing other men? I guess.
So I would say about 12 years into the relationship.
Oh, 12 years.
Yeah, 11, 12 years. So about
you said you opened-
2011.
You said you opened up the relationship
So let's see
10
here.
years in.
So 2010 is when we go to Vegas, right? 2011,
Vegas.
2012. So I'd probably say 2013 is when we opened the relationship, to get my time
Okay.
right.
But there was infidelity on your part prior to you opening the relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
I
And
was
had you
going to
disclosed
divorce.
had you disclosed to him about the infidelity, or
We had when we came to the decision to stay together. But we were
Okay.
not separating due to my, being with other people. We were separating for other reasons.
okay, so when
Mm-hmm.
you opened up the relationship, there had been some infidelity up until that point. Can you tell me though, when you guys opened it up, has he seen other women?
No, it's more me bringing other women home.
Oh, so you guys would have threesomes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you were cheating on him, was it with women, men, or both?
When I was cheating on him,
Well, you said there was infidelity prior to you guys opening up the relationship.
it was male.
It was what?
It was a male.
One male. Okay.
Yes.
And was this like a one-time thing, or was it ongoing?
This was a long-going affair.
Ongoing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then was that the pretext or reason for you wanting to open it up, because there's maybe a sense of guilt related to the infidelity, and you felt like
I didn't have any guilt. I didn't have any guilt towards the affair that I had.
Why is that?
We were just in a really rough time, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't think our marriage was going to survive, nor did at that time I wanted my marriage to survive. I mean, this is just being completely honest here.
Okay.
You know,
No,
this is not covering.
Sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate the honesty.
So, in my mental space, I was done with my marriage. I was ready to move on, and I was moving on not only mentally but physically, trying to figure out how I could get out of the marriage completely at that time.
Okay. So you opened up the relationship.
And it was
But did he want I know the relationship or the marriage was on the rocks, but did he want to open up the marriage?
I mean, I'd say honestly, probably not. He is satisfied with just having me. I have always been very bisexual, and I have always been a very sexual individual, and I think that's why he knew prior to me even doing this that there was a potential chance I would end up some way, somehow doing corn. So for me, I really enjoy having a man and a female.
And
It's
just
a
curious,
sexual preference.
While you guys were married, perhaps at the earlier portions of your marriage, were you stay at home and was he working?
Here we go. So I would say the first 3 years, I was a stay-at-home mom. He worked, and then it went from the next 5-6 years, like he was a stay-at-home dad. I worked, and then it went kind of to us both working while the kids went to school, when the kids were completely off in school full-time.
Okay. I guess, though, bringing it back, you said there was some shaky periods of your marriage, but that was, 14 years ago?
That was 2010 is when I left.
Okay, 14, 15 years ago. You guys obviously have remained married, though, so you guys, I assume, reconciled your issues?
Yeah.
And that happened when was is it better, I guess?
I don't know the exact date or year when I lived in Vegas. I mean, 24 years is a long time into timeline. I don't know, we just started building our friendship again and building our friendship, and then and then I think that when people live together for so long, it's hard not to reconcile. What's the word? I don't even know how to say the word. But you're like, hey, this has happened, and moved on.
Okay, and then just bringing it back to my initial point, you started doing OF. You're doing content with other men. You're sleeping with other men for content, not just for fun, I guess. He's okay with this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I like we've had this conversation, right? I don't where my heart is today. I have no interest in dating somebody or getting emotionally attached to them in any way, shape, or form. When I have these encounters, it is just sex, and a lot of the time it's monetized, right? We're creating a video so that we can sell the video. I don't have an emotional attachment to them at all. Some of them are really great friends, but I'm not going to leave my husband for them. Me and my husband have a very strong relationship now. So
going back to the question, though, would you, if your husband had said, I don't want you, the
answer would be no.
The whole relationship being opened up, or the marriage opening up, kind of muddies the water a little bit, because there was already, prior to you doing OnlyFans, there's this component of...
We were already having sex together with other people.
Yeah. Oh, he was sleeping with other women.
With me.
Okay, but then does he sleep with men?
No.
But he'll have devil's threesomes with you.
Yeah.
So there'll be another dude.
Is that girl?
So it's girl, guy.
Yeah, so he's had threesomes with me with another male.
Are you feeling a bit traumatized right now?
I'm like,
she knows.
yeah.
So
she
hold
knows.
on. So wait.
So yeah.
Has he ever done cuck stuff,
No.
he watches in the corner?
So he is my biggest fan, and he really enjoys my videos, and I really think that this was a kink that kind of progressed over the development of my career. But we found that he really does enjoy watching my videos while I do activities.
Wait, just to be clear,
yes.
just to make it blunt, he enjoys watching your videos of you having sex with other men.
While I perform activities.
Having sex with other men?
No, on him.
Oh.
Oh God.
I was
Okay.
trying to be.
All right.
Wait, hang on. No, I'm not. I just want to clarify this. You're performing sex acts on him while he's watching you perform sex acts on other people.
Yeah, on the phone.
Yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
he watch it?
But
No,
he's
shit,
not
I'm
he's not the guy to, like, sit there in the corner and like watch somebody like have sex with me
Just on the
and,
phone.
Yeah, he just wants
and
to
not
watch it on his phone.
participate. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wants to participate, so
I
I wouldn't categorize him as a cuck. I know it's complicated. I literally.
Well, wait, hang on. But he does like watching other men doing things with you while he's doing things with you.
Yeah.
That would be definitionally cuckoldry.
Well,
like on his phone. So, okay, he's having sex with you. On his phone, he's watching a video of you having sex with other men.
it's really hot. Like, this is like intense sex, like crazy wild sex.
Excuse me? That's fucking disgusting.
Wait, okay,
Who
final.
said that? You?
No, it was the soundboard.
Oh, okay.
Wait, so, okay.
He's like, it's for me. He's like, don't blame me.
So, wait, if he had said, no, you're not going to do OnlyFans, would it have been the end of the marriage? Would you have divorced him?
Well, I would have said,
Into the
like,
mic,
if
into the
this.
mic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Like, I was going.
You were gonna
If he
do it.
If he wanted to leave, he could leave. If he wanted to leave, if he wanted to stay, he could stay.
Sure. So if he put his foot down, you would have said, well, we've talked about it. I've heard you out, but I don't care what you think. I'm going to do it anyways.
I can't
And
download
then
24 years of experience, but during the experiences that we've had, this was this one time where I was like, this is something I'm not willing to sacrifice for
So
this.
you
Can
wouldn't.
sorry.
Two more last things.
Yeah, no problem.
So
Yeah.
you wouldn't have divorced him, but you would have.
If he wanted to leave.
If it was such a deal breaker for him, he would have divorced you, I
Yes.
guess. Okay. It's
Yeah.
and then I guess my final thought on this, and then I'll pass it over to Andrew. Public service announcement to the men watching. If your wife, wants to open up the relationship, no. And then if she wants to start doing OnlyFans or other kind of sex work, no. That's a divorce. That's a goodbye.
Waiting to happen.
It's over. It's over. I mean, honestly, even if she brings it up, but then you like convince her not to do that shit, you should probably still get the divorce. The relationship's over. Once she's breached the conversation of open relationship, even if like you guys sit down and you're like, no, I want us to stay monogamous, and she's like, well, I guess okay. No, it's over. If she even I don't even know if she Google searches that shit, you have to divorce. How to open
Not the Google search.
any sort of hint that she wants an open relationship or she's going to have a conversation with you, instant divorce. She wants to do OnlyFans, instant divorce.
I
That's literally
disagree.
hilarious.
I have so many friends who are in happily married relationships that are swingers, and they have very
Great.
healthy marriages.
Look, that's
it's not
fine
for
you.
everybody.
Prescriptively, what the advice I would give to men is, it is unacceptable for your girlfriend or wife to be having sex with another man. That is the bare minimum of just having any sort of coherent, reasonable standard for your partner. They should not be having sexual intercourse, carnal knowledge with another man. That's an L for you. If she wants to open the relationship, she wants to do OF, it's a wrap. Back to the streets she goes. Hold on.
She belongs to the street.
Back to the streets. Look, if
Maybe
you're
I
dealing
do.
with a chick that's already involved in that shit, that's on you. But if your relationship is monogamous and she's not doing OF and she's moving in that direction, that is the end of the relationship. If you have any self-respect as a man, You have something quick, then I'm passing it off to Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like you, not to accuse you of anything,
Yeah,
but it sounds
no.
like you really pressured him into both of these decisions. Do you think he holds any resentment against you long term over this? 'Cause
They had a
this,
pretty-
this is something that I keep in mind and why I stay single, because I wouldn't want to force a partner into being okay with something that I do and then hold resentment against me for it.
They
I
had a
didn't
pretty
force
rough.
him. Yeah, I didn't force him
Yeah,
to
they
do
had a pretty-
anything. I gave him the opportunity.
Because they had a
if
pretty-
he wanted,
with
if
you
he
so
wanted to
bad.
leave, if
Because they had a pretty rough relationship growing up, like in general. So it was like if he wanted to stay like that was his choice. You know what I mean? Like because he obviously wasn't doing the things that he needed to be doing as a man. And
Wait, just to clarify, that's your biological
this is my
father,
dad.
right?
Yes, this is my father. So
Okay, so don't you think there was any incentive for him to be like, well, I still want to be, there
but
with
that's-
my daughter. There's this pressure that
But
I
that's what-
have to stay with her. I have a child, yada, yada, yada. I guess I'll let her do this just because I want to
all
stay
my
in the
kids are
house.
grown.
see, and the thing is my dad was never like that. Like my mom did everything for us. Like my dad was there and stuff, but my mom was the one that was really did everything for us. So, but it's true. Like, but if we're gonna like.
I know, but
He did do stuff for us still. He was there, but I'm just saying, for example, for the conversation of, do you feel like you were pressuring him that he did it for us? I don't think he did it for us. He did it because he wanted to be with her, not for us. Because it wasn't for us.
there's complications in marriage, with any marriage, especially a 24-year marriage. That's a very long time. There is so many things to contribute, and this was just. If he wanted to leave, he was more than welcome to leave, or he could stay and we could work it out with what I was doing. But
there definitely
it is
wasn't
what
any
it is.
pressure.
And people might think I'm a B, and I really don't care. I really, really don't. But I do love having the conversation and helping people understand that perspective.
I don't think it's fair to say there was no pressure over on this end.
Oh, no.
There's definitely pressure around it. I'm not saying you tied him down. You're like, you're staying here, but
Yeah.
there's definitely an emotional, a familial pressure around staying with your wife.
Well, when I was like third grade, my mom had left my dad and took me, and we left. And so the reason why they got back together for the kids and for stuff like that. So to be honest with you, it was already like to the point where it wasn't exactly like a relationship is already supposed to be like. So it was kind of like, it wasn't like they were like doing it, like, it was different. It was different than that.
Well,
And
I wanted to read.
Go ahead,
Very
yeah.
quickly. I wanted to read this to you. This was a super chat I got on my end that summarizes a lot of what people are thinking right now hearing this story. This comes in from Mikey, and he says, "My husband is great. I cheated on him. I let him watch me sleep with our friends. I would have divorced him if he didn't let me do OnlyFans. He's amazing." Right? That kind of summarizes, I think, the thoughts of a lot of people right now who are kind of listening to this tale. Like here, I'll give you another example of this. Why this is so foreign to me. So if one of my daughters, for instance, was ever bad-mouthing me in public, ever talking, like my wife would lean over, doesn't matter. It's 25, 35. My wife would lean over and smack her across the mouth. You ever talk about your dad like that again, I'll rip your heart, right? She would never in a million years, right? But this is kind of almost flagrant, right? Like your daughter's there, and she just kind of runs her old man down, and
I'm not running him down. I'm just
you're kind of running him down.
How? I'm just saying that at the end of the day, like there's other things that my mom was gonna do, like modeling and stuff like that, and my dad, because of his being jealous and stuff like that, caused us to not be able to have a different life that we were supposed to have. So, for example, like she's trying to make something for us.
That he doesn't want other men to fuck his wife. Yeah.
No, she's not even. She's not talking about that. She's talking about other opportunities,
like modeling, because she was doing runway.
I wasn't even doing that.
She was doing
I was
like other
managing
stuff. She was managing a company, and my dad was so jealous that she had to leave and go do these things, trying to be a productive, responsible woman, trying to make something for her family. And my father was like jealous about those things, and so it kind of to the point where my mom had to stop doing that.
Wouldn't you want your dad to want your wife, your mom, all to himself, not to share her with any other men?
They're not going to understand because they don't know the history.
Was it
and that's
SFW modeling
okay.
or NSFW modeling?
She was doing the makeup and stuff. She was
until 4 years ago. I had nothing to do with the corn industry.
No, this was when I was younger. She was doing actual things for actual projects for runway and things like that. And because my mom had to go stay with a guy that was married, like he wouldn't let her. He wanted to like stand there and be there, and he like ruined that. So basically, but he wasn't drive to do something more for us. You know what I mean? So it was like my mom was trying to do all of this.
Let my wife go stay with some guy so she could go be a model? Like,
No, but that's not what it is.
They're not going to understand.
She
okay?
wasn't
It
modeling.
wasn't
She
me
was
modeling.
running model shows. Like she was doing the runway, like getting them dressed, doing the stuff, like doing productive things
Doing
like that.
their hair,
working
doing their
with the
makeup.
guy that was running it all, and he was
Yeah.
jealous that she was trying to work just because he was a man.
And we weren't staying in
was
the same hotel.
They weren't. It was just
it
the
was
fact
just-
that she was doing something that he wasn't allowed to do too. That was the problem. So I'm not saying that like that he didn't do anything. Yes, he was there. I love him so much. I'm thankful for everything that he's done for me. But at the end of the day, like my mom deserves also to be able to make something for her family. And if he's not doing that, then like he can't stop her from doing that because someone has to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a husband can do that. I think a husband has the authority to absolutely say whether he's comfortable with or not comfortable with when it comes to the work of his wife. I think wives do that all the time. So I'll give you an example. There's a lot of men out there who work very dangerous jobs. And there's been times where I've seen actual grateful women. I go to them and say, listen, sweetheart, the job that you're doing is extremely dangerous and I just want you to come home. So I want you to switch occupations because I literally want you to come home. I need you to come home. I adore you.
But the job that she was doing wasn't dangerous.
That's not the point. The point is that it's a matter of responding to the preference of the partner also, understanding that people have boundaries, right? It's not that the guy wants to quit being a firefighter.
So he
Maybe
should have been
loves being
doing...
hang on. Maybe he loves being a firefighter. Let's say he loves being a firefighter, but the wife comes to him and is like, look, I need you to come home at the end of the day. I want you to switch occupations, even if you love being a firefighter. This happens all the time. And men will usually go, okay, they'll accommodate a switch in occupations, even for something they love to accommodate their women. I just don't ever see that vice versa.
Okay.
It's just, honey.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, in the beginning of the podcast, everybody has their own opinions.
That's fair. I don't know the history, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that.
And I respect that, and I totally respect your opinion, but like I know what I've sacrificed and what I've given and what I've put in over and over and over and over again. And this was just, and maybe I'm 44 years old now. My kids are grown, right? Most of them are out of the house, right? And so this was point of my time where I'm making this decision. This is what I'm doing, right? And like I said, I love my husband, and if he wants to stay with me, he can. But if he doesn't want to stay with me, I'm okay with that.
You're okay if your husband didn't want to stay with you?
I'm not here to control anybody, right? And if that's something that somebody doesn't want to choose to be in my life, right? I'm not here to control anybody's life anymore. You know, maybe when I was, and don't take offense of this, ladies in their 20s, but in my 20s, I'm at a point where my life, right? I'm not begging anybody to stay, and I'm not begging anybody to accept my decisions, that the things that I'm doing. Like, if you don't want to get on board and you don't like it, that's okay. I'm okay with that, right?
Actually, I am actually having some difficulty wrapping my head around this. I mean, I haven't been married quite as long as you, but I've been married for an awful long time. And if I said to my wife, you know, I just don't really care if you stay or you go. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that she would see that as my husband loves me very much type of thing.
Well,
to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that she would see it that way.
Yeah, I'm just not.
People see things differently.
Yeah, we live completely different lives, right? And completely different lifestyles.
Exactly, and you can't. I can't expect someone to understand things like that, and then I can't understand a lot of things that other people are going. You know, so it's like it's just sometimes when you're not in that predicament in your life, like you can't really understand what is actually going on. But everybody has the right to their own opinions. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand we all have a right to an opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to understand the view. right? So I'm actually trying to understand it from your perspective, not just from mine.
Yeah.
If
So
he
the way
said,
that I'm going to do that is I'm going to obviously relate it to my own experiences
Yes.
like you are, so I can try to understand where it is that you're coming from. But if somebody came to you, a friend of yours came to you who was a man and said, you know, I don't really give a shit if my wife leaves or she stays, would you think in your head, well, this is a man who adores his wife?
Well, if they've had experiences in life like 20 years of being together,
Well, you don't know all the past. You don't know everything. You don't know all of it.
I wouldn't
What
know
would you-
because
what would
it's
your
not that I
initial
don't
reaction
love
to
my
that be?
husband. I love my husband. I really, really do. But I love what I do. I genuinely love what I do. And maybe it is my kids are growing. I've raised my kids. My kids are out of the house. They're doing their own thing. I have grandkids that are out there in the world, right? And this is where I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next, right? And I love what I do, right? And I'm just... Because somebody doesn't want me to do that, I should make the decision that I'm not going to pursue the thing that I'm doing because I love it and I enjoy it because somebody said that I shouldn't do it.
Can I get a point of clarity?
Yeah.
You said you opened your relationship, and you did say that you do have relations with other men, just you two. Does he have other relations with other women, just himself?
No, he chooses not to. He knows that he has.
Okay.
He knows that he has. Like if he came and said, "Honey, I'm going to go meet with this girl," like all that kind of stuff, I would be okay with that. It would be hypocritical of me not to be okay with that. You know, so I'm not gonna be like, oh no, you can't do that. You know, no, I'm gonna be like, have fun, be safe.
Did you guys talk about this before you got married?
Oh no, honey, we met. I was 19 years old. I met in January 14th of 2000, and we were married August 10th of 2000. So there was no conversation there.
You guys expected it to just be you two?
Oh no, we got married because I was pregnant.
Yeah, that's the only reason it was, because my older brother, he's a year, 1 month and 10 days older than me. We're like technically Irish twins. She got pregnant with him. She didn't even know him for that long. So it was kind of like they were just making things happen. And then they ended up, wanting to raise us and stuff like that. Like they didn't really even know each other for that long to begin with, to have conversations like that.
Yeah.
Because everything happened so quickly.
Yeah. We're literally, I was 3 months pregnant.
He has been there and he's a great dad.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, what I mean by that is he has no right to tell my mom basically what she can or cannot do just because of the fact that my mom has done everything that she can do, and it would have been just selfish from all the other things that's happened in the past, from other things that we could have been doing right now instead of this.
Yeah. Is your dad supportive of your OF?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I don't think he's a
he's
great dad.
Yeah, well,
I don't think he's a great dad anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think
that would
that
be my view on it.
I think he's seen how hard we work, how much fun we actually have, how we impact people. And we don't just impact people on a sexual level. We also do social media,
And I'm also-
safer work, and we do a lot of positivity out there. So it's not just 80% of my content is safe for work, 20% of my content is not safe for work.
And he knows that I'm not doing this to do this forever. He knows that I'm doing this because I'm trying to be able to do the money, to be able to start my, my business, to go to school, to be able to have bigger things. This isn't the long term. I'm not expecting to do this for the rest of my life. I'm expecting for this to be able to make something of other things so that I can actually focus on those things instead of having to work a 9 to 5, not making anything, struggling to survive, trying to then go to school and make something of my life and for my children.
There are millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions and actually billions of young women who go to school and work their way through without ever selling a single nude, without ever sucking a single dick, without ever doing any of that. There's literally over a billion.
Yeah, but
right?
those
who are alive.
I
Who are
agree.
alive. Who are alive right now, at least in that age bracket, probably around 1 billion. And it's like,
But a lot of those people.
how is it that this idea of I need money? It's like, well, everybody needs money. Everybody needs money. But me as a father, I think, I can't control my adult children. I can't do anything about the choices that they make ultimately, except to weigh in. That's true. There's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands except to put whatever pressure I can, which is very little in modernity, right? I can't go kick in the door and drag them out, whatever stupid thing they're doing, even though sometimes I would probably prefer to. But I would never support those endeavors. I'd never be like, I am here to support what it is that you're doing, especially when it came to something like that. You know, that doesn't sound to me like
If
how
you're-
a typical father would think.
If your daughter came to you and said that she was doing this, what would you do? Would you disown her? Or would you
Well, at least it's
somehow
all behavior
find out a
stuff.
way
Listen.
to support her?
If you're doing something which is this horrific, at least from my view, especially a Christian view, it's not that I would stop loving my kids. I don't even think that would be possible.
Exactly.
Right? But that doesn't mean that I would ever enable such behavior. And I would let it be known, not only do I not support this, but I'm going to apply as much pressure as I possibly can within the confines and boundaries which are reasonable to make it known that I'm not going to support this behavior. And if that includes me distancing myself, I think actually that's what good parenting is. Sometimes putting down really staunch, tough boundaries, right? Because kids also like to shit test, don't they? You know that. They love to shit test. It's one of their favorite things to do. And one of the things that happens when they shit test, right, and they want to have a game of the wills against an old, stubborn man like myself, well, I'm going to win in the end, right? I'm going to win in the end. So the thing is like, look, I don't think that is ultimately what good fathers would do. I don't think good fathers would not apply that type of pressure. I mean, it sounds to me almost like the guy's a pimp in a way, right?
He is not. He's not in any way, shape, or form of that.
Well, I mean, is he benefiting from you sleeping with other people?
Oh, yeah, but he's not choosing who I'm being with and when I'm with. I manage my business 100% myself.
Yeah, maybe he's not setting it up for you.
No.
You know, but
He
still
doesn't do anything with my
beneficiary, You know what I mean? I mean, it's not accurate to say pimp.
Yeah.
But it's something that sounds very akin to pimping.
Well,
something very closely related to that.
Yeah.
So, just saying. Just my 2 cents on it.
No,
we have some
I accept
chats coming through that we are going to read. We have Pasty George. If you have a kid or kids, your priority is the family, and the parent or parents should move to an area that is affordable and good for the children's upbringing. That's just my opinion, though. I believe that was in response to you, Crystal. We have Pasty George. Do appreciate your message. Thank you so much, man. Metro Matt, it's been a minute. Good to see you, man. This might be the most disgusting conversation to have in front of your daughter. Men, stop being feeble and propping this behavior up. Get some... Wait, where is it? Hold on.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right, thank you, Metro Matt. Good to see you back, man. We have Inquisitor Zeal. Andrew, given how this hag will burn in... What the fuck? Burn in hell. Has dragged her own daughter to hell, and her actions are unlikely to be rare. When do we as Christians reckon with our failure to evangelize the world?
I love the judgment. I love the judgment.
Hilarious.
You know, it's a common misconception that Christians aren't allowed to judge.
Yeah.
Very common misconception. Not only are we allowed to judge, we're told to righteously judge. Otherwise, how would we ever distinguish what is sin and what is not if we did not have judgment?
Yep.
So the thing is that this is something often that you hear atheists say, or people who dislike Christians. Christians are so judgmental. It's like, well, yeah, they're supposed to be. That's the way that we determine and keep ourselves honest and keep our own in-groups proper. And that's also the way that we engage with the world, so that we know that we're not engaging in sinful behavior. But it's just a common misconception. It's like when you call a Christian judgmental, I'm always like, good. You know, I have judgment and I use it. Exactly. You're right. I have judgment and I use it. Yes.